Everyone is talking about self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani getting elected to be the next mayor of New York City, but I don't think that's the most shocking or impactful vote that went down yesterday. Not even close. Yes, socialism being accepted in NYC is huge, but there are two votes that are actually even more revealing and honestly significantly more terrifying than that, including the Democrat politician that just won after leaked text revealed that he fantasized about a Republican lawmaker getting 2 bullets in the head, and that his children die in their mother's arms. You thought electing a socialist mayor was bad? What about a vote that normalizes wishing murder on your political opponents and their children dying? Yeah. So let's get into the 3 most disturbing results of last night's election, going from like hocus pocus disturbing to like hereditary disturbing. Let me know if you caught that reference. So last night, Zohran Mamdani won the New York City mayoral race. And at this point, I'm sure you've at least heard a little bit about him. The man is a self-described democratic socialist, which in a country this large, let's just be real, with all the corruption, that just means you're a socialist. And he has plans to completely flip New York City's economy on its head. Now, the reason his election is so disturbing is because he didn't run as a normal, free market-loving Democrat. He didn't run as a fix the current system Democrat. He didn't try to hide it at all. He ran as a I love socialism. Socialism is the cure to all things bad in our country Democrat. And he won largely in the financial capital of the freaking world. Okay. Now, obviously, everyone in every city is entitled to their beliefs and to elect whichever local leaders that they want. But here's the part we need to realize. This isn't going to stay in New York City. No, not at all. Zohran Mamdani has opened the floodgates and emboldened socialist lovers all across the country to run for office, even if they fled their country to escape socialism, or their parents or grandparents did. And guess what? They are going to win. Oh yeah, socialists are about to start getting elected in cities and states across the entire country. I promise you this is about to happen. And can you guess why? Because, this is so simple, and I don't understand how Republicans are not focusing on this as well. The reason socialists are about to take over in cities and states across the country is because no one can afford to live here anymore, especially young people. The cost of housing has skyrocketed. The cost of childcare has skyrocketed. The cost of healthcare has skyrocketed. The price of food has skyrocketed. And guess what? Those are the exact things Mamdani just ran his campaign on and won overwhelmingly because it resonates so strongly with young people. He's going to turn the New York City government into a major housing developer again. He's going to provide free childcare for kids up to 13 years old. He's going to freeze rent. He's going to provide government-owned grocery stores. Now, I actually agree with the free childcare part, but overall, I believe his policy positions just place a giant Band-Aid on the problems. And in 10 years or so, when those Band-Aids start to deteriorate, we're going to be in an even worse position than we are right now. Like, significantly worse position than we are right now. But people don't care about that. They care about right now. They care that they can't afford groceries right now. They care that they can't afford childcare right now. They care that they can't afford their rent right now. They don't care about 10 years down the road. Let's be real. So right now, Mamdani is the only person offering solutions to those issues. People are sick of the status quo. People are sick of politicians saying, everything's gonna work out, just you wait, everything will be fine. No, people are sick of that. People are over that. They want change now. And Mamdani offered a change. And his solution, which is about to spread across the US like a flood, is socialism. That's his fix. That's his cure. That's what people just voted for in New York City. And you're about to see that spread everywhere. Now, I believe the real fix to these issues, to the affordability crisis that's creating enormous hardship for Americans, but especially young Americans, needs to go deeper than the little Band-Aid Mamdani is going to place over everything. We need to address the issues that are actually going to fix things long term for people without growing an enormous corruptible government, okay? We need to push developers to actually develop low-income housing, not just little tiny incentives here and there. We need to push them to do so. We need to regulate institutional purchasing of homes so these giant companies stop driving up the price of rent and home ownership. We need to deregulate zoning rules that prevent dense housing from being built. Because yes, supply and demand when it comes to housing is a real thing. We need to address healthcare costs by taking down the enormous health systems and pharmaceutical companies that have far too much bargaining power right now. And like I said, I agree with his idea to provide free childcare. Honestly, I think that is well worth it. We provide free public education at lower levels, so why won't we do the same for childcare? Yeah, Mom Donnie, I agree with you there. And honestly, providing government-owned grocery stores in low-income areas is this is the definition of a stupid Band-Aid idea. We need to incentivize companies to increase the wages of their workers so their workers can actually afford food without government subsidies. We need to prevent stealing from grocery stores in low-income areas because that's a huge reason no one wants to set up shop in those areas. And then we need to confront overall inflation. We need to confront our supply chain issues. And we need to start thinking about how major climate issues like droughts have enormous effects on the price of our food. Slapping a little government-owned grocery store right next to another government-owned housing project in the middle of a low-income area in New York City doesn't fix these issues long term. If anything, it's just going to make these issues worse. Now, issue number 2, which is actually even more concerning than socialism about to consume the US over the next decade, is that California voters voted yes on Prop 50 or Proposition 50. Now, you may be thinking, who cares? How does that even come close to competing with the rise of socialism? Well, I'll tell you, this vote signals the end of democracy. I'm not exaggerating. It really does. Or at least the normalization of undemocratic practices. At its core, partisan gerrymandering is undemocratic, and over 60% of California, at least the people that went out to vote yesterday, just voted yes to allow it. Now, just so you understand exactly what Prop 50 or Proposition 50 is, it's basically saying yes or no. Do you want us, the California government, to redraw California's congressional maps, to nullify as many Republican votes as possible via a practice called gerrymandering, so that we can have more Democrats elected to Congress. And I'm sorry that I'm stumbling over my words a little bit right now. I'm just a little bothered this morning. I haven't showered or anything yet. When you break it down, gerrymandering is the process of manipulating the boundaries of electoral districts to favor one political party, group, or one particular outcome. So basically, you can draw every district to include 60% Democrat voters and 40% Republican voters so that there isn't really a single district that has the ability to elect a Republican to Congress, even though there are about 6 million Republican voters in California. It basically just nullifies their votes by the way that you are drawing these different congressional districts. Yeah, basically nullifying every single Republican vote because you always make sure there's just enough Democrats to outvote them in as many districts as possible. That's what partisan gerrymandering is, and that's what California voters just voted yes to. This has happened in states all across the country from both political parties, and it's always pathetic when it happens. But this time, the voters actually voted for their government to take part in this disgusting, partisan, undemocratic practice. And yes, that's a big deal. And this is a signal to every state that maybe we're just over the whole voting and democracy thing. Why don't you, the lovely, trustworthy, amazing government, just go ahead and pick and choose who represents us? Because clearly we're okay with having less say in who represents us out there. That's what this vote signals. This is us, American citizens, giving more power to our government and saying that we are okay with you doing disgusting, partisan gerrymandering as long as it benefits our political party, I guess. This is a much bigger deal than you think it is. And the most disturbing part from last night's elections, the most disturbing takeaway, at least, we are okay with political violence. Yeah, I don't know how else to take it. We are okay with political violence to its most disgusting extremes. A Democrat named Jay Jones just got elected as the next Virginia Attorney General. And this dude is a complete piece of trash. I don't say that lightly. But when you say the things that he said, you are a piece of trash and you have no place in our political body. But somehow, 53% of Virginia voters still voted for him. So here's what happened. National Review reported Jones had sent a number of texts on August 8th, 2022 to a state delegate, Carrie Coyner, about shooting then Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert. And apparently he meant to send those texts to someone else, so that's something to keep in mind. This was accidental. In the text, Jones suggested that if he only had 2 bullets and was faced with the choice to shoot either Republican Todd Gilbert or dictators Adolf Hitler or Pol Pot, he would put both of them in Gilbert's head. That's a little extreme, one would say, right? Coyner then told Jay Jones that his text made her uncomfortable, so he called her to explain himself and apparently mentioned that policy only changes when policy makers feel pain themselves, and apparently said something along the lines of hoping that Gilbert's little kids died in their mother's arms. Okay, this guy just got elected to the Attorney General position in Virginia. Let's just remind ourselves of that one really quick. These texts were leaked. Jay Jones apologized for what he said, and then Virginia elected this man to be their attorney general. Okay, and now we have normalized that type of rhetoric for our politicians. I don't know how else to phrase that. When you elect this man to office after this is revealed to you, this is normalizing that type of disgusting, politically violent rhetoric for our politicians. And I'll be honest with you. I'm sorry I seem a little disgruntled today. I am. I feel like every single time I think that we have the potential of showing that we are coming back together, that we are not as divided as the media likes to say that we are, that we just prove the media right, and we actually show that we're more divided than we think we are. And it's really discouraging to see. I mean, this story about electing this man to Attorney General after this stuff was revealed is insane to me. Like, look, if you thought it was bad that Donald Trump said stuff like, lock her up when talking about Hillary Clinton when he was running for office, or he's having petty legal battles with people like Letitia James. The rhetoric that Jay Jones used, is so much worse. And Americans just voted for this man. Americans just said, we don't really care about him wishing death upon political opponents and their children. We care more about the D that stands for big old Democrat in front of this man's name. Do you think that's an issue? Do you agree with me that this is a huge issue? Do you think that this is a precursor of things to come? Do you think this signals a coming together anytime soon? Hell no, it doesn't. We hate each other. We hate each other so much that we are willing to elect a man that said he's executing a Republican over 2 dictators and then illustrated a traumatizing death for his children. That's where we are right now. Are we happy about that? Is this the path we want to continue walking down? It sure as hell is not the path I want. So yes, socialism is bad because it creates an enormous government that's very susceptible to corruption and has led to poverty for its citizens for thousands of years. California voting yes to Proposition 50 is bad because it shows that we are okay with letting go of democracy in order to maintain a party victory. And Virginia electing Jay Jones to Attorney General of their state after those things were revealed shows us that we are this close to being okay with real political violence as long as it means our party remains in power. Guys, these are serious issues. Not just the spread of socialism, but our weird acceptance of letting go of democratic practices. And honestly, from both parties right now, we are just giving into it instead of doing what Americans have always done best and fighting against it. The left seems to be okay with it when it comes from their side, and the right seems to be okay with it when it comes from their side. Guess what, guys? It shouldn't be okay coming from either side. And as long as you're so distracted being a Democrat or so distracted being a Republican that you don't see it happening on your sides, you're not actually fighting for democracy. We need to start coming together as Americans, okay? Americans, not Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans. And remember that we all have much more in common with each other than we think, or than the media is convincing you of. We are all on the same team. We are all in the same party. We all want a better life for our neighbors and our countrymen. While I'm not much of a fan of Obama because of the way I think he intentionally divided us when he came into office to, create his coalition of intersectionality, he did say something beautiful during his 2008 acceptance speech that I believe needs to be repeated every single day moving forward. We have never been a collection of red states and blue states. We are and always will be the United States of America. That is something we need to remember every single day as Americans moving forward. That is the only way this country not only survives, but progresses and becomes a better version of what we currently are. Sure, we may have different ideas on policy. That's normal. That's completely fine. But at our core, liberal or conservative, Democrat or Republican, independent, libertarian, I don't care. We are not that different. And if recent years have shown me anything, and what yesterday's election proves to me, is that we have completely forgotten that. Let's really work on ending the manufactured division and working towards some type of path that unites us all again as Americans. Sorry if my video today seemed a bit angry. To be honest, I'm a bit angry. But either way, I'm Lou Hawley. Thank you so much for hanging out today. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to go to the gym or something and let off some steam.